Hello everyone and welcome back to Corey Loses, where today we're going to be talking about the New Republic and Ascendancy 1.1. Keep in mind while you're watching this that a lot of this stuff still is in progress, so a lot of the numbers have to change, and we're still adding in things like voiceovers, some icons and some text that'll be missing. But this should hopefully give you a pretty decent idea of where we're going with the New Republic in 1.1 and a little bit going forward as well. We're going to be taking a look at some of the tech tree changes, the ability changes for all the capital ships and the Titan, as well as the Starbase, and we're going to be looking a little bit at one of their new units. So we've already covered the Pentastar alignment this way. There's going to be a link in the description to the full playlist for the 1.1 previews for all the individual factions. The Remnant and the Empire of the Hand are coming up fairly soon. Hopefully we'll be able to do one every week. There might be a week between them sometimes, but after that, we're going to be doing a full video on all the new heroes. We're going to cover them separately. You can see Akbar sort of hanging around here, but we will be covering those when they're done, so that'll take a little bit longer. But we're also going to be starting to do some full-length preview playthroughs of 1.1. We did a few in the past when it was a bit more in development, but now that we're getting a lot closer to release, which is scheduled roughly for July, we will hopefully be able to get a bit more of that. I'm going to try to do one of each faction. But without any further ado, we're going to just get straight into it. We'll start with their new unit. So their new unit is sort of hidden over here. It doesn't have the icon in yet, but it is the Smuggler unit. It is researched as a separate, it's a new part of their economy tech tree. It goes between the Smugglers Alliance and the Smuggler's Den. You have the, right now it's in a YT 1300 freighter. So the same type as the Millennium Falcon. In the future, we're hoping to switch that out for a separate one. So probably the YT 2000, but for now, for this release, we're just going to keep it as the YT 1300. So it's pretty good against fighters. It's got some decent damage against capital ships for its size, but it's one of its main utilities here is it has an ability that will interfere with an enemy trade writ, or not, what's a writ? Trade station or trade port. I wanted to say route and port at the same time, I think, but either way. So if you are in a gravity well with a trade port or within a certain range, the smugglers will sort of gain some income for you and reduce the income for the enemy player. So they're sort of a mix of offensive and utility. But the extra addition here to the economy tree is also their third hero, which will be Talon Card, as you can see. Still missing an icon and text for that. Bane is currently working on getting in all the heroes for all four factions, which is why we're covering them separately. But we will go from there to talking about the abilities. I guess we'll start with the biggest first. So we have the Viscount over here. It still has the Protector ability, only this has been fixed since the last version. Previously, it sort of drained all the shields entirely. So it should be a lot more useful now. It restores the shields of its surrounding units at the expense of its own shields. So it's a little bit of a support of support of Titan. We also have the Ionic Wave ability, which is an AoE burst. It sort of damages. What's the range here? There we go. So that's the range at level 1. I think it increases a little bit as the levels go up. Uh-oh. Oh, that's a scout. Never mind. Our ion cannon is firing at a little Moo scout. We also have the reflective shields ability. Sorry. So this will reflect some of the damage taken by the Viscount back to the attackers. And finally, we have the new repair droids ability. Its icon is terrible right now, but hopefully we'll be able to change that pretty soon. So this deploys astromech droids to fix all the ships around it. Let's check out the range on that. There we go. So it's a pretty good range. It makes the ship a bit more of a supportive ship, like I said, compared to the Executor, which is more about its own pure firepower. And it also fits in with the New Republic wanting more durable ships. So we'll move down next to, speaking of durable ships, their tank, the MC-90. We have the Shield Aegis ability still. This increases the shield mitigation of all ships around it. There's the Bulwark ability, which is a taunt, so it makes all ships within a range well, we just saw the range there, attack the MC-90 instead of any other allied ships, and it also increases its own damage. It reduces the damage, rather. We have the Power to Shields ability, so your typical shield restore rate increase at the expense of other systems, and Reflective Shields, just like the Viscount. So it's really relying on soaking up that damage, and that's sort of where it gets its own power from. So we'll move down the line a little bit here. Let's go to the Nebula class Star Destroyer. The first ability on that, we have the Overwhelm ability, so your standard damage increase. We have the Target Hanger ability, which will reduce the supply of a target ship, allowing you to get fighter superiority a little bit more easily. We have the Force Projection ability, which puts out a fake, I believe it's a Dauntless Cruiser, that sort of draws in enemy fire a bit and reduces the attention on the Nebula class. We also have the Piercing Blows ability, which reduces the armor of the target ship that it's fighting. So it makes that ship a bit more easy for both the Nebula and any other ships that are attacking it to kill. Next up, here's the hint. Let's see. I guess we'll go straight to the MC-80. I don't think anything's really changed as far as abilities go for the MC-80 since the last release. We still have Established Garrison. It's still got the Boarding Party ability for the New Republic, the Power to Shields ability, and Incite Rebellion. So not too big of a change as far as its ability goes. I think it just had some numbers changes for its abilities. We are moving on to the MC-80B. So the MC-80B, we have the Ion Bolt ability still, which is a targeted shutdown of an enemy ship. It's an ion shot. We have the Upgrade Computers ability, which increases the damage output itself. So this is just a flat upgrade. You don't have to activate the ability or anything. It just statically improves this MC-80B as it levels up. Well, you have to select it as like you have to level up the ability itself, but once it's leveled up, it's going to be a passive. It just increases the output of the ship as it is, sort of helping slot it into more of a damage-oriented role before the Nebula Star Destroyer. But we also have the Power to Shields ability, which is standard for your Mon Calamari ships, and the EMP Burst, another new ability, which is a little AoE shutdown. It disables abilities, construction, structure work, phase jumps, sublight main engines, and weapons. It does this for 4 seconds, so you'll probably want a couple of these in your fleets. And what do we leave out there? I think this is the Endurance. Yes. So we're going to go over to the Endurance here. We have the Emergency Shielding ability, which basically shuts down all of your weapons and is a pretty big boost to its durability for a bit. This is like an escape ability for it. We have Signal Interference, which you target one ship and you're targeted and you're sort of jamming that one ship, so it's harder to get orders in and out, which disables the weapons, the targeting computers. It stops that ship from coordinating with the fleet while that ability is active. Then we have the Fighter Sweep ability, which is a buff to your own fighters, increasing their speed and their damage output, as well as the Scrambled Transmissions, which decreases the chance to hit for enemy fighters. So if you are about to start a dogfight, or Sins is poor excuse for a dogfight, you can buff your own fighters and debuff the enemy fighters at once. Or if you're going for like a bombing run or something, you can increase your own fighters' ability or damage output there and speed. But either way, that makes it really useful for getting fighter superiority, not just through its own squadrons that it's deploying, but through its abilities there. We also, I guess, will look at the Empress. So we've been upgrading the stations a lot in this release, making them a lot more useful, because in the previous release they weren't super useful. We have a lot, it's a sort of mix between a hangar station and support station, but it's got a bit more of a military capability than the Valaduja, but less than something like the Cardin or the Odo, which we're going to be talking about in the Empire of the Hand and Imperial Remnant videos. But you have the hangar capacity, which brings it up higher than the other star bases in its ability to deploy fighters. Like level 1 is just level 1 alone brings it up to 3 fighters. You also have the Rejuvenate ability, which restores your supply to surrounding ships, so it sort of acts like a gigantic AoE XQ platform on planets where you have one built. You got Pinnacle Base, which will stop the planet from being lost if it's being bombarded while you have an Empress station there. I believe the TEC had a similar ability in the base game. It can also, which is an upgrade here, we're going to go to the defense tree, it can also have a holonet relay on it. So there's one upgrade there, and I guess actually we do need to look at the tech tree now. So I guess since we're in the defense tree, there's the onboard holonet, and there's also the Pinnacle Base upgrade. There's probably a few more techs we want to slot in here as we go, but this isn't really their main focus tree. So as we go through the releases, we're probably looking to increase by like 5 to 10 each release on the existing factions. The max we're going to go to is like 130, 140. But right now what we're trying to do for this, for 1.1, is get every faction up to 100. Right now the New Republic is sitting at 99. So it's a good a time as any to take a look at them. Let's see, what's next? Go to the military tree. So in the fleet tree here, we've added in where Han Solo and Akbar are. We'll be taking a look at them in the hero video. I think some of these ships have been moved around a little bit, but I might be thinking of another faction there. The main upgrade to them on their military tree here comes in the subsystems. So we have the astromech droids and the restraining bolts tech. This increases their passive hull regeneration, which really wasn't a factor in the mod before. So for most factions it'll remain a non-factor, but for the New Republic you can, like, as you can see, it's by 1000%. But obviously that's just because the value is so low for all factions that until you get the astromech droids, it's not really doing anything. But afterwards, you're still better off using your resupply and repair stations and your fleet tenders. But if you have long deployments, or if you have a fleet that's sort of sitting out and all of its fleet tenders get destroyed, over a reasonable amount of time, you can still repair that fleet up to a good amount of health and sort of feel comfortable leaving them on their own there. And restraining bolts just increase that even more. So they also have the long-range weapons upgrade, which increases the range of their weapons, as it says on the tin. It's just another way that in the late game helps put their ships a bit ahead of the other factions, which at this point are going to start getting a lot more ships, because they have like the supply upgrades of the Pentastar Alignment or the Remnant. The Empire of the Hand doesn't get that, but it's still in line with the New Republic, where it's getting more upgrades to the ships it has rather than the number of ships. We have also got some changes in the development tree here. I believe this has the wrong numbers here, the resilient populace. This is actually supposed to improve the planet health regen. Right now it says it's improving the hull repair rate. I think it's just got the astromech numbers displaying right now, so that's actually going to be for your planets. And we have open immigration, which increases the growth rate on the planet. So this will probably be a tree that receives a bit more expansion as we go, maybe 1 or 2 techs for this release. But as we do the release for the Hapens, most of our focus for the New Republic will probably be on improving the governance tree here in development and also in foreign affairs. So right now, they have most of their tech are focused on getting more out of negotiations. So I think there's some of their tech that's just set to be in the second block, which obviously doesn't make sense because it's only one block here. But I think their envoy will be about here, and then they'll have 2 more techs right here. But mainly what you're getting out of this tree for the New Republic is improved relations. They have some of the better diplomats of any of the factions, so they benefit more from being in alliances with the Allied Assault ability, which increases their damage with every ally that's in the gravity well. And it's also a bit easier for them to get into alliances, especially with other New Republic factions who will get the same bonuses as them. Alright. So I think that covers most of the changes to the New Republic. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to the changes for this faction as well as the other factions. We will be probably talking about the Imperial Remnant next. And again, there will be some full playthroughs that I'm posting that'll show these changes in a bit more, I guess, their natural habitat in a real game. I'm probably going to be doing the Pentastar Alignment first against Impedia, who will be playing the New Republic, and then I'll probably play the New Republic against Gullen Bane or something. But we will have full games coming up with all these features in effect. So thanks so much for thank you so much for watching, everyone. I screw that up every time I say it. But we will be back hopefully next week with the next faction preview. See you next time.